Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you can all hear me okay. It's incredibly strange just sat here in my office talking into a computer, but I'm hoping that everybody's okay and everybody can access this live stream. So as promised, we're now doing our second live stream, and we will do one of these every term, looking at different topics and different strategies as well in the run-up to exams. So without further ado, I shall load up my presentation. There we go. So today we're looking at revision, and it's a bit of an introduction to revision. It's looking at a couple of revision strategies, but also ways that parents can support at home and things that you can do in order to support those at home and you know what that looks like. So we'll go straight in. Now, like last time, if you have any questions at all that you can think of either during or after this stream, please email the head of Year 11, Peter Perry at strudacademy.org. We'll try to answer as many as we can at the end of this, but you know, we will endeavour to get back to you if we're unable to answer them immediately. Okay. So, first bit of business, we've listened to you. Pupils will now be arriving on site at 8:45 rather than 9 o'clock. The rationale behind this is the inclement weather, starting to rain, not so nice outside. We don't want the pupils stood outside, particularly those who get the bus or get dropped off early. So they're going to be coming in for 8:45 through the same gate. Now, other year groups in the school, we're asking them to line up in the playground or the tennis courts. Year 11, they are trustworthy, they are mature enough that actually they can just go straight to their form room. This means that they will have a half an hour in the morning for form rather than 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes at the end of the day. And then they will have their intervention from 3 until 4 o'clock. So they're getting a bit more intervention as well, which is absolutely fantastic. And on that note, I'd really like to thank all of you, parents included, for the support that you have offered with the intervention. I'm absolutely astounded by the number of pupils and the dedication that our pupils are showing to actually staying after school and working hard. I think it's absolutely incredible, and it's really setting us all in good stead for the exams in the summer. In terms of when pupils arrive in the morning, it's expected that equipment will be placed on desks at the start of each lesson. Please remove outdoor wear before entering the building and place in the school bag. So hoodies, you know, please put them in your bag. And uniform and standards and equipment, we will check those every morning. Okay, so that's all of that. Now this, you know, is not how I want pupils to be when they're sitting their exams in the summer. But I can't remember the answer. What was it? You know, there's no such thing as a hard question. There's just a question that you know the answer to and a question that you don't know the answer to. If you revise, there'll be fewer questions that you don't know the answer to. Therefore, you'll get a higher percentage. Therefore, you'll get a higher grade. And that's the point. So what is revision? It's going over previous work on a regular basis. Revision doesn't just happen in the run-up to the exams. It needs to be happening constantly. You know, there needs to be work going on behind the scenes to ensure, you know, what's in your short-term memory from the day's lesson is converted to your long-term memory and actually remains there. It's to remind you of all of the things that you have forgotten. It's to make links with other learning to see the bigger picture. It's to reinforce your learning. So if you perhaps haven't understood something in the lesson, go back over it. You know, find that understanding, contact your teacher, contact parents or those at home. They might be able to help you with it. Use it to check understanding. You know, none of us are perfect. None of us understand everything first time. And actually going back over something, you know, in a different way in your own time might help you to understand. And it's to remind you of what you don't already know. So when you do revise, don't just revise the things that come easily to you. Revise the things that you don't know, revise the gaps, because ultimately the things that you already know and you understand, you're going to be fine on in the exam. It's the things that you don't understand. It's the things that you don't remember that you need to be revising. The forgetting curve. So back in 1885, Professor Ebbinghaus, I'm glad I got that right, looked at how our memory works. He found that we forget things very fast unless we go back over them lots of times. This could explain why your revision does or doesn't work. So I just wanted to go over a few things related to revision, an actual proof that of the need to revise. It's not some theory which is unsubstantiated. We absolutely need to revise. So you can see with the first graph that learning in class, if you don't go back over what you've learned, after a month, you will only remember 20% of what you learnt in class. So that's 20%, that's a fifth, okay? And even after 24 hours, you'll have forgotten 30%. Revising just once increases that number to 40% after a month. So if you revise once after the lesson, you will forget a little less and you'll remember a little more. Okay. Revising just a few times. After a month, you'll remember between 60 and 70%. Okay, that's just a few times, a few dedicated revision sessions to a particular topic, and you'll remember, a lot more. And revising at least 4 times, you'll remember, in actual cases, between 80 and 90%. That's an awful lot that you're remembering. The point is, going through a topic just once is not enough. You need to learn it, and then you need to revise it many times. Now, I myself, when I was at school, was of the opinion that I could just get through the exams and not revise, and I'd be okay. It's not the case. I'm not the exception to the rule, and neither are you. And it's really important that you remember that. You can't just go into your exams with the attitude that actually, I'll just get through, I'll be okay. You're not giving yourself the best chance to actually find, the grade or get the grade that you want to achieve. And I really want you to achieve those grades. So you're not the exception to the rule of memory. When I was at university, I studied clinical psychology. So memory was something that we went over in a lot of detail, and I have a good understanding of it. This is the multi-store memory model, which was developed in 1968 and is still used to this day because it's such a good representation of memory and how memory works. So first of all, we have the sensory store, which is what you engage with, what you learn via the senses. Now, as you'll see, between the sensory store and the short-term store, we have attention. Now, if you're not paying attention in class, you're not in class at all, mucking about, misbehaving, the memory can't be put into the short-term memory because you're not paying attention. It's not going into the sensory store in the first place. So it's vitally important that you absolutely are concentrating and working hard at all times. And if that is the case, your memory, your learning will go into your STM, the short-term memory store. Now, some of that information will be lost via forgetting, and that links to the previous graphs that I was talking about. If you revise, the amount of information that is decayed or lost through forgetting is minimized, it's decreased. If, however, you rehearse, you will transfer that memory, that learning, from the short-term to the long-term memory, and that will be transferred. In the exam, because you've transferred it to the long-term memory, because you've done the revision through rehearsal, that information you will then be able to retrieve in your short-term memory, and you'll be able to answer a question. So, what I'm saying about revision is not some pie in the sky kind of concept. It's actually it's fact. Our memory is a muscle, and we need to make sure that we exercise that muscle, and actually we exercise it by revising. So the statistics of revision. 5% of what you learn is listening to a lecture or to something in particular. Just 10% of what you learn is from reading. Now, this is a really important statistic. Okay, so 10%. If you go back over your notes from class or a revision guide and you just read through it, you will retain, you will convert to your long-term memory about 10% of that information. So, if you're revising 10 pages, you'll probably remember about 1 page. So it's not great. It's not the best way to revise. Now, 20% of what you learn is from audio visual, so seeing it or hearing it. Quite often when I used to revise, I used to record my own voice and then listen back to it. It's not a narcissistic thing. It's just that helped me to revise. It's another way of engaging your memory, engaging your long-term memory store. 30% of what you learn is when you see a demonstration. I would say that if you're revising a particular topic, there's absolutely no harm in you getting onto YouTube and looking at that topic in a different way, perhaps a video of that topic. So as a geography teacher, if we're teaching about longshore drift, it's all very well reading through longshore drift, but it's actually great to watch a video and understand it in that way, and that engages more of your memory. 50% of what you learn is when you engage in group discussion. So when you have a chat about it with a group of people, it's really, really good, and revision groups are an excellent way of learning and of revising. 75% of what you learn is when you practice what you learn. And this is why it's so important that pupils and students, that they do an exam paper, they do practice papers or practice questions at home. It's no good just reading through. You need to be doing something with that information. You need to be putting it into a mind map. You need to be putting it onto flashcards. You need to be answering practice exam papers. And the last one, 90% of what you learn or revise is when you teach somebody else or you use it immediately. And this is really interesting, and this is a great way that people at home can support revision. 90% of what you learn is when you teach somebody else. So, I have a daughter. She's at primary school. She's doing her maths and her 11 plus at the moment, and I literally do not have a clue how to support her in maths. But actually, she talks to me about it. She teaches me what she's learnt, and that's a great way for her to revise. And it's the same. You don't have to know the topic that your son or daughter or the person that you're caring for is actually teaching you. Just let them teach you. Don't even care if they go and teach a brick wall or the dog. Just teach somebody or something. It will engage more of your memory, and that will enable you in that exam to recall more and therefore be able to answer more questions than if you've just read through a revision guide. That's not a smart way to work. So I've put some revision activities, just some examples. Highlight what you're going through. These revision guides, there's no harm in highlighting them or your classwork. Teach somebody else. I cannot emphasize again the importance of teaching somebody else. Exam questions and mark scheme. Absolutely use them. Write your own questions. Mnemonics, these really help me to understand. In geography, you have mnemonics to learn different things, and it's a great help. Mind maps, one of my absolute favorites. Keywords, so post-its around your room, post-its around the house. It will really help. Flashcards, you can put them in your pocket, you can take them around with you. I'm not suggesting that you revise constantly, but it's another way of engaging your brain in a different way. There are lots of free podcasts out there, and I'll make sure that in a couple of weeks that we on our revision website, that the podcasts, we're putting those on there on our learning portal. And family and friends test you. So the mind map is a really interesting one, and I've used this example of a mind map because this is how a mind map should look. It shouldn't be loads of words on a page just boring you. It should be bright, it should be exciting, and it should be engaging. It should be lighting up different parts of your brain. So here you can see I've not put bubbles around anything. It's really important that you don't do that. It starts to make it look messy. It starts to make it look confused. Use pictures. Use pictures to represent something in particular. So a picture is a visual representation of something, which again engages a different part of your brain. It allows short term to be converted to long term. Okay, and keep it simple. It's not about cramming lots and lots of information onto a page. It's about keeping it as simple as possible. So a mind map is just a really good way of organizing your brain. It shows links and relationships to different between pieces and information. So we can see on the long branches, we have a particular subtopic. From these, you'll have other topics, and they're then represented by a picture or a keyword. A mind map, unlike any other methods of study, involves numerous active cortical skills and helps you to remember information quickly. What I mean by cortical skills, it involves lots of different parts of the brain at once. When you are just reading something, if you were to have an fMRI or an MRI scan at that time, it would show just a very particular part of the brain being lit up. If you started looking at a mind map, you'd see the brain was lighting up in a lot of different ways, and it's activating in a lot of different ways. And actually, revision is not just working hard, it's about working smart and hard. So, why encourage revision? It reduces panic, and this is really important. If pupils have had a long run-up revision, if they've organised their time well, then they're not going to be panicking around the exams, which absolutely we don't want to see. We don't want to see pupils anxious about the exams that they're taking. That's just it's not helpful and it's not good for them. And actually, if you're going into an exam panicking, you're not likely to do as well as you could as if you're calm and you know that you've absolutely prepared as much as you can. It means that their exam results will show what they can do, not what they didn't do. Don't leave anything to chance. Don't think, I could have done more revision, I could have done more. Absolutely give it your all and leave everything out there. And actually the grade that you get is the grade that is representative of you and your ability because you have revised. Revising helps to identify problem areas, and this is really important. If we can identify those problem areas in good time and work with teachers to overcome those problems, it means that those problems, now term 2, term 3 won't be a problem in term 5 and 6 when they are taking their exams. And it will improve their results. Absolutely. And the most important thing in order to give our pupils options is the results. Should I be helping with revision? Research and experience shows that pupils whose parents show a regular and active engagement with their child's learning do better in exams. I don't think this comes as any shock or as any surprise. I think we've discussed that 90% of what you learn is when you teach somebody else. And if a parent or anybody at home is supporting with that and encouraging that, then it's absolutely going to help when they take their exams. You get to know your child's strengths and weaknesses. And that's really important. You can play to the strengths and support with the weaknesses. Discussing their work with them strengthens their understanding. We've discussed this. I can't emphasize enough. It really does help. And many students don't know how to revise effectively. And that's the point of these sessions. And there'll be lots more of these sessions, at least one a term. And actually, we'll be running these sessions in school as well. We're absolutely going to help support the pupils in Year 11 with their revision and how to revise. So I've got here a GCSE revision timetable. This is something that we're going to support and work with our pupils to prepare. Students love revision timetables, but if they're anything like me, they got put on the wall and left there, but it looked really pretty. But actually, it needs to be effective and it needs to be used. So that's something that we're going to be using, and that's going to help to organise pupils' time and actually help to divide their topics and understand what they need to learn. What can you do to support? Really provide a suitable environment for study at home. Provide those essential resources, remove excuses. We discussed in the last stream interferences, and excuses are an interference that could potentially go against potential twice there. Monitor both the quantity and the quality of revision. If they're just reading over a revision guide over and over again, that's quantity, but it's not necessarily quality. What are they doing with that information? Where are the practice questions? Where's the mind map, the flashcards? Direct help. Ask them questions. Testing and helping learning. Strike a balance between support and challenge. We're all here to support, and that's absolutely a given. We're also here to challenge and make sure that that challenge is healthy and enables the pupils of this school to really succeed. Rewards, and contact teachers for advice or information as needed. Really important. We're here to support, we're here to help. And I think probably one of the most important here is calm them down. We don't want anxious, stressed, panicked pupils who are going into those exams worried about the paper that they are about to sit. We want calm, we want prepared, and we want results. I asked some of the departments to produce a slide just about their subjects. So we've looked at maths, English, and science, and I'm going to play you an English video that they've put together towards the end. So for mathematics, there is 3 papers, and we've got the dates here, although likely to be subject to change. There is non-calculator papers, and there is 2 calculator papers. So any of these topics can appear on these 3 papers. So you need to be ready and prepared for the first exam. We're then able to use a process of elimination to work out what is likely to appear on each of the remaining papers. It's really important that every topic that could potentially come up is revised in detail, but understood in detail. Mr. Ravenwood has put here, don't forget your essential weekly problem-solving activities, which are set on the Google Classroom. We also have some online support. Obviously, Year 11s have now got their Chromebooks. So we have Maths Watch, we have Maths Genie, On Maths, and Just Maths. Now, I will send out this presentation tomorrow via a parent mail so that you can access all of these links and you can use those. We've also got the 2 revision guides here as well. So, again, please make sure that they're purchased. I believe we're running a purchasing scheme through the school, so make the most of that. Science, 6 papers. Wow. 6 papers for science, so there is a lot to remember. That's a lot of content, and that's why I stress there are so many exams to do, there's so much to learn, that actually that revision is not left until the last moment, that it's that we're doing it now. We're doing it in school, but actually, doing it at home as well. Make links between the topics and real-world scenarios makes it easier to remember. You have 18 equations to recall for physics, so breaking these down into an equation triangle will help here. Again, we have revision guides. I know that in science they have Tasamai, and I believe they have one other as well, online platform. So again, make the most of those. You're very lucky to have these Chromebooks, absolutely using them. And before we go through the English, I'm not sure if this video is going to work. I hope it is. I just wanted to hand over to Mr. Perry to see if there's been any questions.
None.
There's been none at all. Okay.
I'll sit patiently and I'll refresh.
Okay, so there's no email questions, which is absolutely fine. But if you do have any, please share those with us. And I will play this video from English for you. It's about 12 minutes long, and then that will be the end of the stream. So before I play this, I just want you to thank everybody for all their support. I really want to thank Year 11 for the mature and amazing manner in which they've come back. I can't emphasize enough how amazing this year group are. Their behavior is virtually impeccable. They show maturity every single day. They're an absolute pleasure to be around. And I really just want to emphasize how grateful I am to be associated with and working with, with these pupils, because they're absolutely amazing. And long may it continue. I really am so happy with their progress. So we'll play this. I will then end the stream. Again, any questions or anything that you wish to discuss, please email Mr. Perry.